didn't want the easy out. That's why I was kind of emphasizing it to say, well, I could just put this album there and that's a senior project, but I really wanted to challenge myself. And I think
Nice.
that's the theme that would probably touch on is it's always challenging yourself. It's really chasing a passion.
Welcome, everybody, to Running Strong Mind Body Connection podcast. I'm super excited to have you here. I'm your host, Karen Bonnet-Natraj, and I'm super excited to have you join me today. And just a heads up that this podcast is born from my own deep belief that true strength doesn't come from pushing hard. It comes from aligning your mind and body. It's in flow, not fighting it. So each week I dive in what it really means to live and lead from the inside out with powerful tools to help you shift from self-sabotage to self-love, from anxiety to clarity, and from sustainable to success. From stress to success, actually. So, this is a space for you to grow. This is a space for you to heal. This is a space for you to laugh and have fun and maybe learn and actually learn from other people's point of views and other people's perspectives and expertise. So, if you're ready to build mental fitness for yourself, you can certainly reach out to me and take that first step. And you can check out my website at the mentalfitnessedge.com. And there's an energy assessment, there's a saboteur assessment, there's all sorts of good information for you there, plus all of my podcasts. So I bring to you many people from all walks of life. And these people have inspiring stories, expert insights, and practical wisdom from runners, from coaches, nutritionists, healers, all sorts of everyday warriors that come across my path that I feel that can bring you good value to enhance you as a runner, as an athlete, as an everyday person in your life. And so today I'm bringing in an amazing person that I just met. And I hope you enjoy this podcast and check it out. Go to YouTube and subscribe to my podcast. So I dive in, you guys, enjoy this podcast. So today, hey, you guys, we're diving in to bringing on a amazing person I met at Route 66. This is Jimmy Lehman. So Jimmy has always embraced challenges, and we're going to dive into that today because that's a lot of how we met. But you know what? He started from composing a full symphonic wind ensemble as his senior year project. Really? So from there he became a firefighter, EMT, then shifting into masters in computer engineering. Okay, does that sound like he bounces around? I think so. He went into chip design. Now he's been running the thread through, well, running has been his thread through all of it. After a couple early marathons in 2008, pretty awesome. The Lake Tahoe Ultra attempt. That's an attempt. I want to talk about that because you wrote attempt there. He stepped back from events to focus on family and mental strength. Amazing. That's awesome. He returned to in 2022, jumping from a 5K. Okay, get this 5K to a 50K, really? To a 100K? We don't take any 5K to a 10K to a half marathon. He just jumps right in there. And then Route 66, he went from the relay and crewed events to running it. And that's where I really got to meet Jimmy and the amazing person that I got to know him as. And so, Jimmy, welcome to the podcast.
Absolutely great to be here. Thanks for the introduction there.
Uh, you're welcome. So, what do you have anything to add to that, or
Well, I'll circle back to the symphonic piece just to kind of say, with that one of my bands, we had recorded an album, and I could have used that as a senior project, but I didn't want the easy out. That's why I was kind of emphasizing it to say, well, I could just put this album there and that's a senior project, but I really wanted to challenge myself. And I think
nice?
that's the theme that would probably touch on is it's always challenging yourself. It's really chasing a passion. So
So, was your passion music at first, and then changed over time, or what?
yeah, I would definitely say I was a terrible student. I will throw that out there. Uh, I'm named after Jimmy Page, so I've been playing guitar since I was like 5 practically. It doesn't make me good, but it's just something I've always enjoyed. And in arm's reach, there's a few guitars over there too. So, but yeah, since I wasn't that great of a student, going into music was what really helped me. So that way I
Wow.
can actually learn study techniques. I remember in high school I had a class, in English class, where like I was always kind of a C student, and I'd just wait till the last minute, do the assignment like the night before, and then I'd get a C, and I'd be like, okay. And one time I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do the thing that they say. I'm gonna spend a month on this. I'm gonna stretch this out. I'm gonna research it. It took me significant amount more time, and I still got a C.
What's that
So
tell
I
you?
just exactly. I was like, well, then I'll just save the energy and put my, focus on something else.
I what you mentioned you had some guitars sitting right there, and my son, my youngest, was my musician, and I bought him his first guitar, which I believe he still has.
Nice.
And how he taught himself, he'd stay up all night teaching himself how to play music from the computer, and barely get any sleep. Yeah, he did pretty good in school, but I just when he had the gall to leave me, and when he left, my house was so.
My mom would always talk about that actually, and still even to this day, how she she's a rocker. So she is probably the biggest Sammy Hagar fan that you would ever meet.
Oh, wow.
And I mean, my first concert was Metallica at 5, I believe.
Oh my
And
gosh.
she dragged me to concert, and I don't know if it was dragging because then pretty soon I was asking her, "Can we go to this concert? Can we go to this?" And I mean, we've seen Van Halen, the Eagles, ZZ Top a bunch of times, and of course Sammy like 20 times or so.
Wow.
And so I would stay up late playing guitar, just like you were describing, and always jam or just blasting it from my room with the door closed. And after I had left, my mom was just like, she misses,
The house
hearing
is
that
so
rock music
quiet.
just blasting. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And now I'm hearing my son sometimes blasting. He's not playing it as much. He is starting to play clarinet, which is really cool, but he's 9, just for context, my son, but he'll be playing on his own music player some of the bands that I like, and I'm like,
Fun,
yes.
fun, fun, fun. Yeah, my son ended up going into the army, and it was his last night at home before he was going out. And all of his buddies came over, and they sat in his room and created a song for him and
Whoa,
played it. And it's like,
that's so cool.
oh, it was very cool. It was very, very neat. And he does now. I mean, he still plays. He only plays for himself. And I think music is just a great language of the world in so many ways. And he turned me on to Metallica.
Nice.
We didn't go, I couldn't go to the concert. He turned me on to when they played with San Francisco Symphony.
Oh, yeah. The
That was
S&M one
powerful.
is.
Yeah, that was super powerful. And I was probably running Javelin 100 when they came to concert, and I couldn't go with him. I'm like, Caitlin, I don't think I can run 100 miles and then get in a plane and fly to San Francisco to go see them with you. Dang.
Good excuse though.
So I kind of want to dive into Route 66, which cracked me up was, I mean, I just loved meeting you and your crew. I love your crew and all that went with that. But I remembered you from the year before as a relay runner.
Yep.
So actually, let's go into that. What got you into doing and going into the relay, and what was that like for you?
I think that goes back with James Chung, who's the Korean cowboy hat
Yep.
that you probably remember. And he's a good friend of ours. And I think he had stayed actually at Marshall and Heather's place. And then he sent us some pictures to say, like, guess who I'm doing dinner with? And we're like, this is amazing. And that's how he got introduced to the Route 66. And I think he did the media the first year before
Yeah, I
Rick.
don't know. Yeah.
At least he participated in that. And then he ran it the second year as a relay. And I wanted to go, but the challenge for me with Route 66 is it falls right next to my son's birthday, which is November 13th. And so I couldn't do it those years. But then that third year, I was like, hey, this works out very well in the timeline. Let's do this. So we put together a relay team, and it was like half of us from California and half of us from Oklahoma, where James now lives. And
Okay.
so some of us, we had met each other a few months prior in June. We did a Grand Canyon rim to rim, which was not smart to do it in June because it was like, I think the only time or temperature that we noticed was I think it was 5 or 6 o'clock. It was over 115 degrees that day. I think that was Cottonwood, maybe at that location. There was a thermometer there that we had all captured. We have a picture to document it.
Okay.
But so some of us had met there. So we were kind of used to each other already. And I mean, we became friends, but like we had a little bit of insight into who runs what type of distance or speed, these types of things. So for the relay, we got it put together. James mostly coordinated it, and we all met there the morning before, essentially, or then sorry, the night before. And we were really just kind of planning to do it like casually. I think our estimated time was 30 hours originally. And then it was like the night before, I think all the adrenaline was starting to kick in. And everyone was like, well, instead of doing these rotations, I don't remember what our original plan was, but we're like, how about we do like 6 miles at a time, and then we'll do a check-in every like 3 miles to see how people are doing. And so that's kind of what happened organically the night before. So we changed our structure, which is always a good thing to do before a race.
Of course it is. So how many people were on your relay?
Five of us?
Okay.
Yeah, I believe five. Technically, James was because a crew member counted,
Yeah.
but yeah, he ran 1 mile with us because he was allowed to. So we all did shirtless miles at one point on a rotation, and so he came out and did one.
Yeah, that was a hotter year that year than it was this
It
year.
yes, but it was also colder to start too that year, I think.
Oh, okay.
So I think that spread was bigger.
Yeah, and I think the night was colder when if I remember. Or I was more prepared this time around. I don't know. So
Yeah, it could be both.
you went from a relay running. How many miles did you run?
I did about 45, I think, total.
Okay.
And we did it over like 6 mile increments. And what I was going to say was we weren't, we were planning to run it pretty casually, but then after maybe like 20 or so miles, we realized the first place team was like only like an hour in front of us off estimated time. And so everybody's decided to start going for it. And so we kept trying to close that gap over the whole run, which was going well until one of our guys missed a turn about I don't know, 100 miles or so,
Oh, shoot.
and ended, yeah, it was the middle of the night, and he ends up running on the I-40 on ramp.
Oh, geez. Oh, I know where you missed it in Kingman. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, my goodness.
And so we were like, he should have been here by now. Where is he? And so we got in a car and we were driving around. We couldn't find him. And we took the road just on the other side of the freeway. And we see this little light just bobbing up and down on the side of the road. And we're like, he's on the freeway.
Did he
And
go on
so
the freeway?
oh yeah, he ran it until he got because it was a really long on-ramp and he
Yeah.
had gotten onto the freeway and then that's when he realized he needed to turn around and so we called him after he came back to that road at the end of the on-ramp and he was like, "I missed the turn." And we're like, "You think?" So
Right?
so after that we still tried to keep the foot on the gas, but we just kind of enjoyed it and
Yeah.
that became I think a stretch goal to get it under 20 hours.
Oh, wow. From
So
30 to 20 hours. Good for you.
yeah, so we did it in I think like 1959 or something like that. I was the last person bringing in the final mile there, and
Okay.
so James kept trying to get me to sprint. He's like, "Just sprint! It's the last mile." I was like, "I'm running on empty here, but I'll give it all I got when it's like the end is right there."
Right.
And so I think according to Garmin, I was in like 5 or 6 minute mile sprints at the very end there for
Nice.
that last, I don't know, 10th or 20th of a mile. So
So then this year you decided to run the whole 140.
yeah, I felt like after doing the relay and feeling the course and like, while there was a lot of it that I didn't get to run,
Yeah.
but I drove it and I was like, I think this is possible.
Yeah.
So as we said at the top, challenges. So I decided to put the challenge onto myself and set
And
out to
that's a
do
big
it.
challenge. So what was the longest you ran prior to 140?
To that would have been the 100K that I had done out here.
Okay. All right.
But that had elevation. I think that was nearly 14,000 feet elevation gain.
Which one was that?
The Quicksilver
Oh,
100K out here in
yeah, yeah, yeah.
San
That's right.
Jose.
We talked about that. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a really hot day
Yeah.
that day too. So I was
Yeah.
like, if I could do that, I think the distance should be good.
It can do
So
anything. So I loved
yeah.
meeting you that morning. I don't remember if it was that morning or it was at the briefing or whatever. I know talking to your crew. Jimmy's got this spreadsheet going and he's got all these splits going, all the nutrition. He's got all this data on here we have to follow. And you were set on a 30-hour pace, and I know we ran together for a little bit. I ran
Hmm.
with Nick for a little bit too, which was really fun. It was really fun running with you. Who else was with us? Was it Amy? Was it? I don't remember. There was somebody else with us. But
Yeah, the Winded crew. So John,
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. The relay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't know. Sometimes after running all these ultras, I don't quite remember names and people. I get a little forgetful.
well, I remember John especially because at the end of the relay the year prior, I still had some energy and I was so full of excitement that James and I went back out and we were helping some of the people who were still
Yeah.
out there. And John was a journeyman, and
Yes.
so we had helped him out, and he was also on your show here too, which was a great episode. It was cool to hear, and I loved how he did the call out that some of the crew came out or some of the staff came out to help him, and I was like, we were volunteering it. We just decided there's people out there. So, um, but it was so cool to I chatted with him and Nate afterwards. That was another
Yeah.
big thing after the
Yeah.
relay, hearing
Yeah.
from them, and they were just like, just do it. There's
Yeah.
no like if you
Yeah.
did this, you could just do it.
You
So
can do anything. So let's talk about that journey where 30 hours, we have the spreadsheet, we have it all logged out. All the logic that's coming out of our head is on this piece of paper, but there's more to it.
yes, yeah, that it's funny when you say that because I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. At a certain point, we threw all that out the window.
Because I know I'm running along and I know Jimmy's in front of me and Amy's in front of me. Now Amy Costa's in front of me and Nick's in front of me. So I have fifth place here going on. I'm like, okay, I don't think I can catch either of the Amy's. I'm not going to try. But so I'm good. And then I start hearing later on, no, Jimmy's not ahead of you. So let's explore that. Tell us about that. Tell us. Really want to hear your journey.
Yeah, I would say as I was running, so one, I loved the conversation we were having. I was feeling great at the beginning, and then same thing with John, and I was just enjoying being in that moment.
Right.
And it's so good to have the conversation. I remember you and John as well from the year prior, so this was just such a treat, and I was enjoying it. And then I think maybe after what's the first aid station? Something
So
Springs,
the
right?
hill, Peach Springs.
Peach Springs, that's right. So
So that's
after that,
37 miles into I think it's at mile 37.
yeah, that sounds about right. And
Yeah.
so as after I got to that, I think I needed to go to the bathroom, kind of readjust. John just took off, and so I was like, okay, I'll try to catch him. And I don't remember if I caught him at all or not, but I told myself I wasn't going to listen to music until after that point. And I'm
Okay.
not normally one to run with music, but in these
Hmm.
longer events, I'm like, okay, I like to put it in to give me some boost of energy every now and then. And so I put on music after that, and I just happened to put on an album from a band that I used to play with from like, I don't know, 20 years ago. And
Oh,
it's one
wow.
of my favorite albums. And so I just had a great time, just me dancing as I was running. You probably would have enjoyed. I was a sight on the side of the road, running up hills and stuff. And maybe I don't know if I overdid it there or anything, but it was about 100K time frame. And that's when I
Okay.
was just like, I'm getting pretty tired. And my goal was to not sleep the first night to keep going. But maybe this is just parenthood. And so when I get to a certain point with just being tired, my body just says, no, you need to go to sleep.
Oh, wow.
And I did not expect it to be that bad. And so that was about the time when you passed me. So my crew was telling me, like, if you want to take a nap, I think like night had started to fall by this point. They kept telling me, like, if you want to take a nap, like, we can clear out space. You could do that. I'm like, no, 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 I'm good. And I'm stubborn, as I think we all are to some extent. And so I was just like, no. No, I'll be good. And after a while, I was just like, yeah, I think I got to take a nap. And I was a little bit nervous about how to communicate that to the race
In what
staff.
way? What way were you nervous? What brought that on?
I think it's just sometimes with the change of that, like, I don't know, maybe I was stubborn. And so, like, I didn't want to have to communicate, oh, I needed a nap. In some ways, it kind of felt like maybe I'd be failing in some extent.
Ah, yeah.
And so I didn't really want to. I was like, no, no, I can keep going. I can keep going. And eventually I just accepted. I was like, okay, you know what? Here's Chris Frost, who was out there in his truck keeping an eye, I think on Amy maybe. And he was out there, and I had known him from the year prior, one of the volunteers. And so I walked over to him and I told my crew, I was like, okay, at the next time you guys stop, I'm gonna take a nap. And so I walked up to Chris in his truck and I was like, hey Chris. He's like, hey Jimmy, what's going on? You're looking pretty tired. I was like, yeah, I'm pretty tired. I think I'm gonna lie down for a nap. He's like, okay, yeah, that's a good idea. I was like, yeah, because after we're done talking, I think I'm gonna lie down for a nap. He's like, yeah. Yeah, go ahead. And I was like, I know. So when we're done, my car's just over there. I'm gonna go take a nap. And he's like, Jimmy, just sleep already. You told me this like 3 times. So I think that was the sign. I was like, okay, yeah, I'm just too tired. I need to take a nap. And I remember distinctively as I was stretching out and about to lie down, I saw you run past.
Oh, really?
Yep. And I was just like, she could have it. And I just
Oh
went to
my
sleep.
gosh. I kept thinking you were, so where was that, in Kingman? Did you stop in Kingman? Where were you?
I think that was before we got to Kingman.
Okay.
And I think that was like 60 to 70 miles. Well, I know
Oh,
I had done
yeah.
100K at this point.
Yeah, so Kingman was 80, that's another 87 miles. So it's, yeah, it's way before Kingman. I don't even know where I passed you. And I didn't know I passed you until Natu told me later on. And we are out of Kingman and heading up to the sit graves. And like, really? He's not in front of me? Where is he?
Yeah, I was just so tired. And what I think talking with you and a few others as well, what I realized what I should have done was just slept for like 2 hours because that's what my body was clearly needing.
Yeah,
Instead, I tried to sleep for like 15 minutes and get back out there. And that just didn't help because then I was just super tired
yeah.
for so long. And so that was something big that I had learned. Since I had never done a race this long, I didn't know that about my body.
Right.
So,
Yeah, I learned that a lot because when I started doing ultra stuff, I was cycling,
hmm.
and it was 1200K I did, and that was the first time on a bike ride that I slept, and it was
Did you
forced
carry all
upon
your
me.
supplies?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's an organized ride, and you carry a lot of your own stuff. This was the Davis Bike Club put this on. It was from Davis to the Oregon border and back, and the because I was gonna plan on doing Paris-Brest Paris, which is the elite of the 1200 Ks. It's the ultimate, like the Boston Marathon, like Western States, like Kona. This was of the 1200 Ks, and I wanted to do Paris-Brest Paris. And so that's where I learned to stay. So I stayed awake. I forced myself to stay awake because I didn't want my bike to crash. I had a beautiful bike that the local bike builder, Steve Rex, built me, and I didn't want to scratch it. So I had to keep riding. And in front of me, I was just like, the guys with me, we have reflective stuff on. It's in the, it's 1 o'clock in the morning or something, midnight. And the reflective stuff is going up and down. And I'm hallucinating big time back there. It was crazy.
Wow.
But it's something you train. I believe that helped train me to be able to sustain a 100-mile run without sleeping. And I think 140, I don't sleep, but I did sit down for a minute and shut my eyes.
Hmm.
And it's really listening to your body. You did awesome listening to your body and listening to what it needed. And what I learned on the 1200K is kind of what you said was 2 hours. 2 hours, we go into that deep sleep, the REM sleep, and that's where you
Exactly.
get your recovery. And that could be an hour something. And then you start getting into what you don't want to go into is after the 3 hours, because then you start getting into a lot of dream state and makes you more groggy when you wake up. But I remember telling the lady that was put me where I was going to sleep, and I said, don't wake me up, even though the buddies I was riding with said 2 hours. I'm like, no, no, don't wake me up. I quit.
Oh wow.
And she comes in at 2 hours and said, no. So, got up, ate, felt like a new person, and it was great. It's a lot of it is food recovery. Your body will lay down and it will recover. And as long as you're feeding it,
Yep.
hydrating it and everything, the body will take that 2 hours and just recover. So did you end up sleeping 2 hours?
I think total out of the whole race I did, but it was broken up over a couple of times because it was like, oh, I'd sleep for 15 minutes and then I get
Yeah.
back out there and then I would just be battling it again. And so finally, I think that first night I had to do 2 different times where I went to sleep because I couldn't keep going. And that was because we were getting to Kingman and I can see it off in the distance.
Right.
And then I would go for like 2 or 3 more hours and it would still be off in the distance and haven't changed. And I was like, this is This is challenging.
Kingman never got closer because we usually get it. I think Nick was past that, so we were at the point of coming into Kingman at night. And so when you get
Mm.
into Kingman, you're 25 miles or 20 to 25 miles from the town, and it never gets closer. You just keep seeing these lights. And I
Yeah.
forget who was it was we saw or told me. I don't remember if it, and they're like, you're 20 miles from Kingman. I'm like, it's still far out there. And it was like hours. It was hours
Yes.
and hours to get there.
And there's so much of that that's like a straight shot. And
Yeah.
so you're just staring at it. And it's like this illusion, this thing that doesn't exist off in the distance. And like you've done it before, so you know it's there, but it's also like, am I ever going to reach it? And so
Right.
I'll never forget that feeling when we got to the first sign of civilization. And I just shouted, I was like, I am so glad to see a stoplight. I am so excited for a stoplight.
Yeah, that was to me, that's a dreary section because you're going by the airport, you're out in the middle of nowhere. I thought it was, to me, it's beautiful from the start past Peach Springs. I just think
Hmm.
that's just a really neat terrain, neat, area, the hills, the mountains. And then as you approach Kingman, you start seeing the Wallapai Mountains. And if you can catch that before it's dark, they turn purple with the sunset. And it's just the scenery is just spectacular in that high desert. So,
Oh yeah. And
yeah.
I'm glad you also say that too. Like when we got to like Sitgraves, for example,
Yeah.
that was reminding me on the relay because we did it so fast, that was all dark
Ah,
on that year. So I
yeah.
had no idea like how vast that area was, but just how beautiful those
Yeah.
mountains were that you were going through. And so getting to actually start that as sun was setting for me
Okay.
on the actual 140 version or the crude version, like I just got to see all that beauty and it was so nice.
So where were you heading when you got into Oatman? What were you at the night or during the day?
Yeah, that was just as night was setting for that second
Okay.
night.
All right.
And so I finished about 50 hours, I think.
Okay.
So completely blew out of the water my 30-hour estimation. And I was having conversations with Marshall as well before that. And he was projecting some times for me. And I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to hit these, but I'm trying to do what I can. And I had goals of my own based on my best estimates. And so I held them until I just was in such uncharted waters that I was like, I don't know what to do at this stage. So, but
I,
I think it was
I
about, oh, go ahead.
I love this. I love the fact that the high dream is I know I can do this and we can do this and I'm going to set this goal and I'm all about that. And then reality sets in.
Exactly. And I think important with that is you got to adapt. I mean,
Yeah.
if you force yourself to stay on it, I wouldn't have finished. I'm sure I would have crashed and or something would have happened. But instead, it was like slow down the pace. And, then I was walking for a little while. I remember at one point, I was just kind of getting tired of walking too. And I was just like, we got to like a stop, and I was like, okay, so when I'm running, I normally walk when I need a break, but I'm already walking. So what's my break? And I was like, stopping? Oh, that's not fun.
That's not an option.
Yeah, exactly. So it was just the delusion was starting to set in as well, and some of this, and the thinking and the cognitive was getting kind of interesting on that. But
Right?
I think it was after Oatman, there was about a marathon remaining in terms of
Right.
distance. So I was like
Right.
115 maybe miles, and James had joined our crew at this stage. And so our crew was David and Rob, and you might remember Rob from the year prior as well. And so James had joined us, and he was out there with me a little bit, and he had noticed I was kind of a little funny in my walking. And he's like, how's everything feeling? And I was just kind of like, oh, my toes. Like I had some blisters before. I think they're okay now. And we had put one of those like bandages around the blister that I got.
Yeah.
And my blister just, well, I'll fast forward and say I got to a point where I was like, I think we should check out my toes. And the blister just had just grown its own like second toe basically and just moved the bandage to the sides. Like, I get this thing out of here. And
Your feet have their own agenda going on down there.
oh, no kidding. And so this was the second night. I think I had maybe about 45 minutes sleep at that point
All right.
total. And I was just like, okay. what are we going to do? And James was asking me, he's like, so what are your options? He's like, well, we've got a lighter, so we could, maybe sterilize something and cut them up for you if you want. And I was like, okay, is there a different option? He's like, you could also just throw in the towel. I was like, I'm not calling it, so let's find a new option. I'm going to finish this. And so we called Sharon to come out, and she sutured up my feet
Oh,
and all.
nice. Yeah, she was amazing. That
She
was
was awesome.
amazing. Yeah, she was awesome. So what was your when your whole plan and everything fell apart? So where was your head at with that?
It was the big thing was I have two main goals with that in terms of the nutrition and all, which is the hydration factor and making sure that I'm drinking enough water. And so James had gotten flagged for, I think, a heat stroke on that 100K because it was so hot. And we had another guy on our rim to rim who had gotten a heat stroke as well, or heat exhaustion, and so hydration being a big factor. So it was kind of like I got to make sure I maintain that. And then the secondary is just doing my best to try to make sure I'm getting enough food because I'm
Mm,
running the numbers in my head and I'm like I'm under, and that's why we had the spreadsheet to keep track of it. And I wish I had it up and could screen share it for you. I mean, we had some nice charts to go like where I'm projected to be at, how many calories and carbs and all this stuff. And then that started to fall apart. And then it was kind of, okay, what do we got to do to just make sure things go down and stay down? And it wasn't that things weren't staying down. It was, I just need to eat because I was getting to a point where like, I just didn't want to eat, but I knew I
right,
had to.
right.
And so I had fortunately bought some of the Tailwind, like
Okay.
endurance stuff, and that's got like 110 calories per scoop. And I was like,
Mm.
okay, make sure we got this coming in. And then I changed up some of the food, like John as well, because him and I bonded over this a bit. I'm generally a plant-based person. I'm
Okay.
a vegetarian and I try to be
Yeah.
as plant-based as possible. I was just starting to kind of get sick of most of the things that I had brought. And I'll share the story because I know all my other friends would definitely be like, why didn't you tell this part? And it was around Oatman when James had arrived with Popeyes and he had a bunch of fried
Oh,
chicken.
okay.
And you could
That's
already
not
tell where
quite a
it's going.
vegetarian's diet, but go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. And so I was just kind of getting tired of the things. And I heard him say the fried chicken, but I didn't know he actually brought it.
Yeah.
And I was just kind of thinking like, okay, maybe when I finish, I'll have a little bit of fried chicken. If that's like, because the place where you finish in Topak 66, they've got great barbecue. I was like, I bet it's pretty good. And now it's on my mind. And then it's unveiled like, oh no, James has it. It's here in the car. I was like, oh, can I just have like a little bit? And so put some on a piece of bread for me. And that first bite, I just like melted because it was so different than anything I had been eating
Right.
and the saltiness of it. And I was like, oh, that was delicious. Can I have another later? So it was a beautiful treat that like really helped. And then we were kind of figuring out a few other pivot points in terms of
Yeah.
nutrition. But yeah, a lot of the things I had brought, I knew what worked well. I generally don't like to pivot, but this was at such a long length, and I think it's important to emphasize you have to be okay with trying to pivot and trying new
Right.
things and listening to your body. And my body was saying no more PB&Js. So
Oh my gosh, yeah. How was your stomach through the whole thing? Did your gut hold out? Did
it did. Yeah, there was no issues.
Okay.
Yeah, through all of that, everything was fine. I think the biggest challenge for me was just being sleepy,
Yeah.
and then blisters as well. Which
Yeah.
so I pooled everybody at Topox 66, all the runners, you as well, and Natu, and just the staff, Dr. Bob, and everybody. And I got like this long list of things to try to improve upon and test. So I'm like super excited for the next ultra that I'm like, I'm gonna try this thing, I'm gonna try this, and if this happens, I'm gonna try this. So
It's a good idea to practice in training as opposed to waiting for the ultra to show up.
so I've got a 9-year-old and a 6-year-old,
Yeah.
and finding that time to be like, hey, I'm gonna take a 12-hour run because
Yeah.
these things don't pop up until you're 12 plus hours in. That's hard for me. So I
Well,
think right
now
now
come
my
on.
next
You said you kind of like got really sleepy. This would be a great opportunity to train at night. Kids are
I guess
sleeping.
so. I run in the morning, so I get up at like 5 a.m. every day, and
Yeah.
that's when I do my runs. And I
Yeah.
try to finish about the time that they wake up at like
Right.
6:30, 7 o'clock. I could That's a good call that I can certainly double up. I should probably actually write that down.
There's always opportunities to explore other things too, you know. Can't
Yeah,
get stuck in, and you're one for changing so much. You're one for challenges, and hey, embrace it.
exactly. No, I'll definitely entertain that. I don't know why I didn't think of that before.
Yeah, a lot of, I mean, they talk about that. A lot of things that we do on a 100 miler, something 100 or more, is practice it in training because how do you know? And I get it. I personally don't normally have stomach issues. Though it's sometimes after javelina, I get sick, but I have no idea where that comes from. Maybe because it's hot. I don't know. But I don't normally get sick. My stomach doesn't go most of the time. I've never had any issues and I can pretty much eat anything. But that's pretty, it says a lot when you go from vegetarian to a fried chicken. And it's also what the body's craving. I don't know what's right on food. You know, everybody has their beliefs in this or that. We have the paleo, we have the vegans, we have the vegetarians, we have the all meat, we have just everybody eats anything or, you know, whatever. I think it's whatever works for your physical being. We're all different. I think physically, how our internal system, our digestion processes that, and then really what makes us feel really good. So I've never heard anybody, I think you're the first person I've ever heard that actually tried just anything. I don't have to go with my diet. And I will say for myself, what I eat on an ultra, I would never eat in life. I eat
Mm.
Fritos. I love Fritos. They're fat, they're greasy, they're salty.
The
They're
regular
really
kind, or do you get the chili cheese kind?
no, the regular kind. I
Okay.
can't do spice in my mouth. After doing an ultra, I can't even go. I don't eat any of Natu's Indian food. We do not go to an Indian restaurant after an ultra because what I can normally eat, I can't even palate anymore. My mouth is so sensitive to the spices, so I have to wait. But yeah, I get it. I mean, we get tired of that, and so I usually bring my. So a lot of times I bring my own stuff. I make up sweet potatoes, and
Mm.
I really like I cut them up, bake them with coconut oil and salt, and then give them more salt so I can really taste it when I eat it. And it just gives a different flavor in the mouth, and it's easy to put in the mouth, it's easy to swallow, easy to eat. And then avocado and tortillas, and yeah, just something different. It's always something good to. I can't do gels all the time.
Oh,
I believe Amy did. Amy Adams.
really?
Now is she vegan? You guys can listen to the podcast. It's coming out in January. No, maybe it's coming in December. She did because she did the 280, and she brought her own food, her own gels, her own she peanut butter. Who's that brand of peanut butter you can get in a packet, whatever that was, and
Justin or something like that?
Justin's peanut butter, yeah.
Yeah.
And her own gels, she had to carry lightweight, but she is, I believe she's vegan. So
Wow.
then she did gels the whole time. So it's like, I don't know if I could do that.
That scares me.
Yeah.
I remember on the run, I'll share this a little bit too. Maybe it'll dig me in a little trouble, but at one point I had caught up to her and we were like side by side.
Nice.
And I just remember hearing later that someone was like, "Oh, Amy, she's the nicest person. She's so nice." I'm like, "Really? That is not the vibe that I got." And like, which I'm realizing now, it's she was so determined and so focused.
Yes.
And so, as you know, I'll talk with anybody,
Yeah.
and I love the conversation. So I had caught up, and we were side by side. And so I was like, "Hey, how's it going?" She was all good and just laser focused. I'm like, okay, need anything? And she's like, nope, no follow-ups. She was just so focused and like I didn't know she had the 280 on her mind. And so this was still like, I don't know, 75 miles in or something at this point. So she had so much more ahead of her. So like
Right.
it makes sense, but I was just like, wow, okay, I guess I'll put my music back in. I
Yeah.
guess no conversation.
I think
So
no, she was on my podcast and
yeah.
she's hilarious though too, because she's very serious, very driven, very logical brain, very well organized. I was just super impressed with her organization. I mean, it's like, I want to follow that when I do Cocodona. It's like, I loved how she was so organized on how her packs were and this and that, but she was focused on, and she did 36 hours.
Oh yeah, she was cooking
Yeah. And
and she
then
held that pace.
She did hold the pace, and then she still was looking pretty good. Now, Amy Costa could barely walk the next day. She's a crack up.
But her smile never changed. She kept the same
Yeah,
vibrant
Amy's,
smile.
yeah. The second
Yeah,
Amy too, Amy Costa, yeah,
Costa.
she was pretty hilarious. She passed me. She was back there with the other journey runners, way back behind me, and she caught up and she was doing this run walk thing. And I'm like, how can I copy that? I couldn't stay with her. I'm like, nah, I'm not going to do it. You can't, I know for me, I can't, take on somebody else's pace and try to stay with them to have that company. I can't do that because they're running faster than me. And what's going to happen to me in the long run? I don't, I'm not worried,
Yep.
worrying about that. So yeah, it was I was super impressed with that. She's really a neat lady. And it was super
Hmm.
sad she wasn't with us at the banquet at the end, but she really was focused on doing because she was doing for charity for Feed America, and she just really stayed strong in what her mission was, and she wanted to at least do the second half in 60 hours, but I think she did it in 50 hours.
That sounds about right. I know I was tracking it on Facebook with Marshall, and she was
Yeah,
posting stuff too.
and they went out and gave her an award at the end of it. And
Yep.
because I think Heather was like, we're not sponsoring this, and these people cleared it through us because they're not covered by our liability. They're not covered by anything because it's not part of the Route 66 140. But that doesn't
Hmm.
mean their heart isn't going to be in it, and they're going to support. So Amy had another tracker on her, a Garmin type tracker on her. I think it was Garmin that Heather and Marshall and Heather could track her and see where
Oh,
she's
cool.
at, and they saw her. So they passed her at 7 miles from the finish. They caught up to her the next day or so, and 7 miles from the finish. And then Marshall went out and walked with her a little bit, and then she went in by herself. So yeah, it's just amazing. Different people, right?
Yeah.
Different individuals, and I'm obviously because we were chatting. I'm like that. I get too social, and it's like, okay, let's talk. Let's have
Yeah.
fun. That could be a detriment to some of my races. Like across the years, I have a goal and I never attain it because I talk too much.
But at the end of it all, like you remember the people, the
Yeah,
conversations,
yeah.
not just what you were at the finish line. So,
Right. Yeah. But hers was, I don't know, in her mind, hers was more than what we were doing. She
oh
was
yeah.
using that and then slept. But I just was impressed with the whole organization of how she had herself all set up and what she used and how because the next day she's all on her own.
Yep.
The return trip, she had to find her own food if there's food. She had to find her own
And water.
she the water, and I think she plus it was cooler. She left in the morning actually because we were there when she left. I remember
Mm.
we came back to the finish line, and she left in the morning, and then she had gone to it. There was a store right out on the in Golden Shores, so she'd
Hmm.
gone in there and bought some Coke, I think. And so we
Mm.
saw her when we were heading back to our Airbnb because we had an Airbnb in Golden Shores, and that was a good hour later. I'm like, she's only this far out. And I thought it was weird. Now I realized that she went to the store and setting herself up a little bit more. So awesome. Good on you. So you're not able to be there next year because of your son's birthday.
Yeah, very likely. I'm trying to convince him, but I also need to make sure whose needs am I really trying to do? Like, I was trying to entice him to be like, maybe we could rent a camper van, put some video games in there, do some touristy things. I don't know if I'll be able to get him on board, but so I probably won't be there.
A year after, because next year will be three for me, and then I'll go to four, then I'll go to five, and
Uh-huh.
I always end these things is like, okay, how can I do it a little bit better? So this year for me, I was so excited to get to Sitgraves. I was so excited to get there because I knew what it was. And I knew how beautiful it was. But I forgot about that long uphill truck to get to that. There was a restaurant there or a food stop there or something just before you get into the canyon of Sitgraves.
Oh yeah, the little market
The little
thing that's
market
there.
there, yeah. Last
And the only bathroom in the area.
Right. And then you probably didn't experience all the burrows Oatman.
Yeah, they're mostly gone to sleep by that point. I mean,
Yeah.
there were still a few out. We had one or a couple that just hung out next to us when I stopped and we waited for Sharon. They just hanging out by our car, trying to wait for some food. And clearly they've been domesticated. So,
Clearly domesticated. I kind of found Oatman not to be as busy this time as I was last year. It just seemed to be a little bit quieter when I went there. And I was probably a half hour difference off from what I was the year before. But just a neat run. And anybody listening to this, you really should check out Route 66. Next year, it's the 100-year anniversary of Route 66. So it's a big deal. I know Heather was talking about all the towns along Route 66 are going to be celebrating, and it's a great historical route that actually was changed when Interstate 40 went in, because
mhm.
Interstate 40 intersects it in and out all along the way. But this is part of the longest section that's still usable, runnable, drivable. But I think it's actually 151 or 52 miles. I thought I heard Marshall saying that it actually is further north, but they started in Seligman, so we can bring back the history of Seligman. What a great town!
Oh yeah, it's fun.
We went to the grocery store. They have one grocery store. I don't think they had any lights. Did they have any lights? I don't think so. Maybe one. But we went to the grocery store, and the lady helping us is like, "Well, maybe I could run this." I'm like, "You absolutely could, girl." And so maybe you can get the people in Seligman to come run Route 66.
Well, remember, it's a race for everyone.
Yeah,
So
it
they
is.
definitely can.
You can do a relay, and I don't know. I think there's a limit. I don't remember how many is the top number of having relays. I know it's six. I don't know if they've gone to eight or 10 or something, but I don't know if they're going to bring back or open it up to other possibilities. I don't know, because you have the journey runner, the crude runner, and the relay. So I don't know what they'll do next year, but I'm definitely signing up.
Oh, good.
I will definitely do it
Crew
again.
again?
Huh?
Crude runner again?
Well, don't know. Amy had me thinking about a journey runner, which will be slower. So what?
Yes.
I think the adventure would be very interesting. And I don't know, Natu said he wanted to do it. And I'm
Oh,
like,
cool.
okay, maybe we'll be journey runners. That'd be fascinating. That'd be
You can be kind of
fascinating.
like Sandy did, right? She had chasing Sandy. There was the relay team,
Yeah.
and then Sandy was running on her own. Like you can be chasing Natu, and he could be chasing Karen.
Normally on hundreds, I normally catch him because
Okay.
when it becomes nighttime, he gets really sleepy. And that's where I wake
Mm,
up. And so
I
I
can relate.
normally close the gap and leave him on 100.
Got it.
But then it would be kind of cool for him to catch me later. But he probably would sleep. But I think that would be a really great. We'll find out because Cocodona 250, I think, will be a huge self journey for me. I think it'll be a really huge kind of self exploration, self journey. Really, what am I? What's the deepest I'm capable of? And then I'll look into a journey runner next year. We'll see.
You should. That's my hope. If I am going to be there, I would be a journey.
Oh,
So,
cool. Yeah,
because I want
yeah.
to hit that trifecta. Because I've done the relay, now I've done the crew. I want to do a journey.
I love our goals. I love our
Yeah.
that challenge that you put on yourself and it has meaning to you. That's
Well,
awesome.
it's
I
got to have
usually
meaning
do
to you.
yeah, I usually do things in fives. I don't know why five's a good number. Or like I did the back to backs, I did five. I did this one, I'll do five. I've done so Javelina's 15, but I can't do 16.
I remember you mentioned that I think in a different episode about Javelina, and you were just like, I did 10, and when I did 11, I was like, I can't stop there. Now I have to go to 15. And I was like, I like this. I get you.
You know that there's no limit to fun. There's no limits to fun, and everybody go out there and have fun. But if you're not happy and having fun, you better change it. And I bet you anything, you'll discover so much about yourself getting out there running and challenging yourself. Because Jimmy, you're the most amazing person to challenge yourself. I mean, going from music to an engineer to this to that, and then 5K to a 50K to 100K to 140 miles. Right on.
Thank you.
So, Jimmy, thank you so much for being part of the podcast, Running Strong. Running Strong, Mind Body Connection.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's been a blast.
It has been a blast. Thank you.